Well, severe weather in the U.S. largely remains pretty calm, but the tropics in the Atlantic and the Eastern Pacific continue to be pretty active over the coming days. So the heat dome is slowly subsiding, moving a little bit further south, and along the northern edge, we're seeing some ripples of disturbances and activity that'll be the focus for some thunderstorms, but not a whole lot of organized severe thunderstorm activity across the central U.S. The best chance in the next few days really is across Illinois into Indiana. We have a slight risk, level 2 out of 5, potentially some severe storms right through the central part of Illinois into southwestern Indiana. And the main threat's going to be wind, maybe some large hail, but we'll have plenty of energy and juice. This is still that juicy air mass that was over the upper Midwest and continues to be across a lot of the central and southern U.S. Very humid, very hot air, so plenty of fuel for storms and potential for, again, some of those higher wind gusts as some of that drier air that's starting to move in from the north moves in the middle of the atmosphere into some of these thunderstorms that do develop. So these are wind gust swaths, so we're mainly looking for that potential for some isolated severe wind gusts. So late afternoon, we'll start to see a few thunderstorms pop up, and then into the evening and overnight, we'll see continued scattered thunderstorm development across Illinois into Indiana, and any one of these storms could produce some of those strong downburst winds. Then the risk is a little further south and east as some of that cooler air starts to continue to move south, or the heat rather really retreats, and similar thing here into the Carolinas as we head into Saturday, but pretty quiet. It's that time of year where the plains and much of the main severe parts of the country really kind of quiet down, at least for the time being. But in the tropics, it remains active. We have Tropical Storm Franklin still going. It looks to stay at sea, though. It's going to stay in the Atlantic here and follow this somewhat familiar path around Bermuda High to the west, staying mostly in the Atlantic Ocean. But we are watching a couple of other areas in the Atlantic that could become some tropical named storms in the coming days. One in particular that we'll be keeping a close eye on, but we have several right now that the National Hurricane Center has some pretty high chances of development within the next 48 hours even, and even higher odds as we look into the extended picture. In particular, I'm looking at this area that's off the coast of, off the Yucatan here, that could be headed towards Florida by the middle or latter part of next week. So this is a chance, 70% chance of becoming a tropical cyclone. This is going to create a lot of rain in the coming days here around Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. But then as it heads into these very hot waters of the Gulf of Mexico, we could be seeing some intensification, maybe even rapid intensification. This is the European model, just one of many models. So it is definitely not a forecast at this point, but potentially showing a storm hitting Florida sometime next week and then going back into the warm waters on the Atlantic side. Eastern Pacific remains active too. We've got a 70% chance of this area forming into a tropical cyclone, but both of these, at least for the time being, staying away from most land masses. So 'tis the season where the oceans are hot and tropical weather takes over the activity from severe weather in the plains.